What's going on, guys? Today I'm just gonna go over the Akai Rhythm Wolf analog and MIDI setup and quick overview of all the sounds on both ways. Though of course MIDI, they're always interchangeable. So let's hop right into it. We're gonna go over real quick, I guess all the inputs, the plugins and everything in the back. So in the back here, you can see it's all labeled. It's kind of hard to see. You have your power switch over here, which turns it off and on. You have your AV adapter, it's a 12 volt. You got a USB plug-in. And then down here, you have a gate in and out trigger. You have your MIDI through, in and out, well, in and out and through. And then you have a sync out, which is XLR, and a main out, which is also XLR. So these are obviously going to be for the analog side, as well as all of this right here is all for analog. You don't need it if you're going to use MIDI. You don't need it if you're going to use it as a drum pad or anything. So it's not, these are irrelevant unless you're going to do an analog setup. So first, I'll start off with how I'm using it in Ableton. So, as you can see, I have the USB plugged in right here. I have the AV adapter, which you have to have the power on. Alright. First thing you want to do before we hop into the actual, routing and tracking everything, first you want to go to your preferences, which took me a second to find it here for some reason. But it's in options and at the very bottom, preferences. You'll pull that up, you'll go to your link in MIDI. The top part isn't really important, that's for my other hardware, but for your analog, or for your Akai Rhythm Wolf, it's going to be down here MIDI ports. And you're going to pull down the input, and you're going to make sure you have the sync and the remote, everything on. You have all three of them on the output and the input. I have my input, as you can tell here, has a little negative 109 milliseconds. I had a hardware sync delay, and that was the easy way to fix it there. Did not mean to pull that up. So what the sync is, though, is for this the EXT button right here. It's an external MIDI sync, and it helps control all things in sync. Alright, here we are in Ableton. This is my usual default template as you see in most of my videos, and I do have a video coming for that. So here we are. This is the actual Rhythm Wolf. It is a MIDI channel, and I'm using it to route everything. I have it set up right here. You can see the Rhythm Wolf is selected, and it's going to go through the track in, and I'm also going to use the orange track in instead of auto. And I'm letting it control the drum rack down here, over here on the right side. And this drum rack has just random default sounds on it that I went ahead and added, just so that I could make beats faster and have a lot quicker workflow, and then just hot swap them later. So over here I have the input running in, and the Rhythm Wolf controlling all of these. So this is how you would want to run it if you were to want a MIDI setup, or you wanted it to control an actual drum rack. Next I'll go over analog. Alright, so here we are. We're going to go over the actual analog setup. It's not difficult at all. It's actually really simple. I think this piece of hardware is a really great drum sequencer for MIDI. I think it's awesome that you can use analog and everything, though the analog sounds are not that great. You have to keep that in mind. So first, we're going to go over the whole layout now, since I didn't technically do that yet. So over here you have your tempo, and your tempo knob. This can also be, this is for other things as well, but your tempo knob, you might as well just say browser knob as well. You have your tap tempo, and that was way too fast. So I'll just go to 1 to 45 here. You have a pattern select. When you click this, you'll have a whole line of lights right here. Every single one of these is a pattern. I have stuff loaded, but I'm going to go to an empty one, which I'm pretty sure is 15 empty. I actually have not completely figured out what this button does. That is the only one. But anyway, down here you have your mute. So as you can see, all these are not muted. Turn off as you please, whichever ones. Which, keep in mind, is, you know, this is useful whenever live recording or live analog ink. I don't know. I don't know what you would want to call it, but so as you can tell, here's the sequencer going across as these are being hit on every single step. This is also really fast. I know you can't hear anything yet, but when you hold shift, you can see what your sequence is. It's on a 16 bar loop, so these are really, really fast. So I'm gonna go to 1/8 instead. There's also 1/4, and there's also 1/32. You also have your synth. I keep saying sync. Your synth octave down and octave up over here. You have a record step, a record preference, or record performance, sorry, and then record off. You have a MIDI out, MIDI through, a sync, a copy, clear, and a save. These three deal with the pattern select. This is obviously syncing other hardwares. This is if you were playing this and you wanted to add, you know, kicks here and there, snares here and there, it'll record on it. This over here, these are all your sequencing and how, you know, this is your loop, and then you can do triplets, and you can also hit swing, which I love on this. So say I want to do swing, it's at 50, which is normal. Turn it up and it'll start swinging with it. So, and I'll give examples here in a minute when I actually set the analog on. So right here, we're gonna run it out through the main out right here, and it's gonna run straight into my little box here, my audio hub. And what this is doing is, these are the chords from the main out, and I'm gonna use it as a direct input. So we're gonna input monitor it, and then now I'll show you all the sounds they have on this bad boy and a little bit more on the actual sequencing. Okay, so here is, there it is. Not exactly gonna be loud. Okay, so over here you can see how I can actually change the note by holding this and scrolling up and down. It's hard to see, but it says E0. And I'm gonna go E flat, 0, D. So now, all right. So over here, velocity, let me go over this real quick. You have three settings. Green is the lightest you could hit it, so, you know, like then orange is the medium, and then red is as hard as you could possibly hit that. So I'm gonna go with these for midway for my actual snare hits, and then I'm gonna go to green for like one little quick in between snare hits. So So yeah, it's not, you know, like I said, it's not the best sounds, keep that in mind, but it's all up to how you use it. And I think that if you really kind of go in there and you really mess with stuff, I mean, you could really get some decent sounds out of it. It's not bad. It's really not a bad piece of hardware here. Over here also you have your main volume and you have a howl, which is a distortion. Do not use a lot of this. It ruins everything. It really does. I think that's the only trash thing about this. You don't use a whole lot of main volume either. You want to keep it low. You want to keep it clean. And also this kick. The kick could be a whole lot better. But other than that, man, it's relatively nice. I give it, in the end of all this, I'm going to give it maybe I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for analog. But for MIDI, I'll give it a nice 7.5, which is decent. So that's gonna be it for this. I suggest y'all look into hardware. It's very awesome. So glad I did. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today, and I'm glad you watched.